All right, today we are going to review how to do two-digit by two-digit multiplication. So this is the graphic organizer that I sent out to all of you in order to do this. Again, just like yesterday, you can either do it on this paper, you can do it on a whiteboard, you can do it on regular notebook paper, totally up to you. But I wanted you to have this just for all the extra hint boxes that it gives you, just in case. So I'm going to be doing my work on both this paper and a whiteboard. So let's start with this, and then we'll kind of go to the whiteboard next. I'm just going to be making up these problems again like I did last time. So I'm going to try not to use the same numbers as I did. Let's do 18 times a big number, 57. Okay. So it gives you a spot to write two digits on each one. But if you remember from class when we learned this, I always said to start with the biggest number and always write that one on top. Just because you don't want to accidentally, instead of writing 57, maybe you accidentally write 58 because there's an 8 there. You don't want to mix up your numbers at all. You want to keep the same digits with the same number. So I always say the biggest one goes first. And actually, if you're using this piece of paper, it says the value of the biggest factor goes across the top. And remember, factors are, in this problem, 18 and 57, from biggest to smallest value. So I'm going to write this 57 up here, and we're writing the value, so 57. And remember, you can check yourself to see if you did it right, because if you add a plus sign right in the middle, this should be 57 in expanded form, which it is, so that's correct. And then the other factor will just go down this side right here. Same thing, you always start with the biggest value, which in this case is going to be this 10 in the, or the 1 in the tens place, which is 10. And then the 8 in the ones place goes here. And then I like to do a little multiplication sign on the side just so I can kind of keep myself organized. Now I have to make sure by the end of this, I have each of these boxes filled up. And the way that I'm going to know what product goes in the box is I'm going to, just as a little check, follow each factor with my finger, and then that's where it's going to go. So when I do 50 times 10, it'll go in this box. 10 times 7 will go in this box. 50 times 8 will go in this box. And then 7 times 8 will go in this box. So each of these boxes will be filled up, and there's a specific kind of order to it, just so you do them all correctly. So I want to start with 50 times 10. And I might not know what 50 times 10 is, but I see a basic fact here is 1 times 5. I know what 1 times 5 is, and it's 5. In this case, 50 has an extra 0 and 10 has an extra 0. So that's 2 zeros I need to add. So 50 times 10 is 500. And then 7 times 10 is 70. So now I'm going to move down to this bottom row here, and I'm going to do 50 times 8. And that's going to be, 5 times 8 is 40. And I'm going to add an extra 0. And then 7 times 8 is 56. You can also refer back to the multiplication chart that I sent home with you too, in case you are not super comfortable with maybe like your 6, 7s, 8s, and 9s facts, or if you just want to double check yourself to make sure that you wrote down the correct answer. So now that I have all of these boxes filled up, I'm going to come down here to the bottom where I have a little spot where I can add them all up. I'm going to add them all up. The order that you add them up doesn't really matter, but in order to make it a little bit easier for myself, I like to start with the biggest number and kind of work my way backwards so that it's a little bit easier to add once I get it all written out. So I'm going to start with this 500 plus the 400 plus 70 plus 56. There should be plenty of room to write all of your add-ins here. I wrote this pretty big, and it's enough room. But if you don't have enough room, you can always just kind of squeeze it in or use maybe some space over somewhere else. So now that I can add this, I'm going to do 0 plus 0, 0 is 6. 0 plus 0 plus 7 plus 5 is 12. Carry the 1. 5 plus 4 is 9, plus 1 more is 10. So my answer is 1,026. I'm going to do another one on this paper, and then I'm going to kind of transfer over to a whiteboard to show you how to do it on your own. Erase it all. All right, so this time let's do some bigger numbers. I know you guys like to challenge me on these. So let's do 89 times, let's go 98. 89 times 98. This one's going to be a little bit tricky because I have the same digits, but they have different values since they're in different spots. So again, I'm always going to start with the biggest factor going across the top, and in this case, it's 98. So I'm going to write a 90, an 8, and then 89 is going to go down this way, so I'm going to write 89. So now I just have to multiply them all together. So basically, the only fact I need to know in this one is going to be 8 times 9, and 8 times 9 is 72. Yes, that's right. So my basic fact here is 8 times 9, which is 72, plus these extra 2 zeros. So 80 times 90 is 7,200. Oh, I also need to know 8 times 8 too. So this one is 80 times 8. Well, I know that 8 times 8 is 64. And I'm going to add that one extra 0, so it's 640. 9 times 9 is 81. Plus that extra 0 is 810. And then 8 times 9 is, again, 72. So I'm going to write 72 here. And perfect. Now I've got all the boxes filled in. Now I need to kind of transfer these numbers down to this bottom part where I can add them together. This problem is going to be a little bit easier for you to kind of see what I mean by going biggest to smallest. So I'm going to start with the biggest number is 7,200. Next one would be 810. I'm going to go backwards because this number right here does not have a digit in the thousands place. And I don't want to make sure that I don't have anything there because then that would change my answer. Same thing with this one. I'm going to go backwards. I'm going to write 640. Those line up, which is great, but nothing should be in the thousands place. And then I've got 72. If I wrote it a different way, it wouldn't change my answer. It would just kind of look funny. And I'm going to kind of show you what I mean by that. You could have written it like this. Those are all the same numbers. But that to me just looks silly and I don't like it. So I like to do it biggest to smallest. As long as you make sure that all the digits are in the correct spot, it doesn't really matter which way you add them. But that's just how I prefer to do it. And it just makes it a little bit easier to kind of see. So now that I have all my numbers there, I can add them. So I've got 2 here. And I've got 1 plus 4 is 5. Plus 7 is 12. Carry that 1. 1 plus 2 is 3. 3 plus 8 is 11. And then 11 plus 6 is 17. Carry the 1 again. And then 1 plus 7 is 8. So my answer should be 8,722. All right. Now I'm going to show you how to do it on your own. If you don't want to use this paper, or if you couldn't print it out, or if you just don't have the materials necessary to do it. I'm going to show you how to do it on a whiteboard or a piece of paper. It would work the same way either way. So let's say that my problem this time is, I'm going to go 72 since it's in my brain right now, times 56. So what you do is you draw a big square, and then you want to put a plus sign in the middle of it. And I think in the class, we decided that this looks like a window. So you kind of want to draw a window. Make sure it has 4 boxes. And then I like to go ahead and just draw a little line right above and beside the boxes. That way I can kind of tell, where I'm going to write the numbers. And then I like to add my little time sign right here. So again, I'm going to add my the biggest number across the top. I'm going to write the value of each digit. So the 72 is the biggest number. So I'm going to write 72. And then 56. So now that I've got this, I'm going to go ahead and start multiplying some stuff together. My basic fact here is going to be 5 times 7, which I know is 35. And I've got 2 zeros. So it's 3,500. 50 times 2, well, 5 times 2 is 10, plus an extra 0 is 100. And I didn't do this on the last one, but I like to go in, do each row first. And now that I've multiplied both of these digits times that 50, I can actually cross it out if I need to, because now I only need to multiply this 70 and this 2 times the 6. So since I'm done with the 50, in case you don't want to get confused, you could just cross it out. You don't have to, but it's another way to keep yourself kind of organized. Now I've got 7 times 6, which is 42. And I've got the extra 0, so it's actually 420. And then 2 times 6 is 12. Now I need to kind of go over here and add my numbers. If you don't use the other thing that I use and you use actual notebook paper, I would suggest turning it sideways like we did last week when we actually were adding big numbers, just to kind of help you keep organized. Or you can use grid paper, just so that you keep your digits all in the same, in the correct spot. So I've got 3,500. I'm going to write that 420 backwards. 100, 0 looks weird, and 12. Add it all together. Now I've got 2, 3, 10, carry the 1, and 4. So my answer is 4,032. So you have enough room on each of your slides to do the work either on the slides, or you can do it on paper. You can do it on a whiteboard. You can do it on the graphic organizer that I sent out. Totally up to you how you do your work, but I would suggest doing it somewhere, because there's a lot of steps in this multiple digit multiplication, and I don't want you to kind of think that you can do it in your head and miss some steps just because you might get the wrong answer. So again, always start with the biggest number going across the top, and make sure that you write the values of those numbers, and then make sure that when you go to add them that you line up your numbers absolutely correctly. That way you know that you added correctly.